authorized burns, 4, 1 in the city of China Grove, 2 in the county area, and 1 mutual aid. Activated fire alarms, 3, and those were all mutual aid calls. Assist the public or other type calls, 6, 4 in the city of China Grove, and 2 in the county area. Motor vehicle collisions, 2, those were both in China Grove. EMS calls, 11, 8 in the city of China Grove, and 2 in the county area. Acadian transports were a total of 7, 6 from the city of China Grove and 1 from the county area. Broken down into specific areas, city of China Grove we had 15 calls, Bear County 6, and mutual aid calls 6. I'd like to remind everybody the burn ban has been lifted in Bear County. Ordinances for China Grove, you must call and obtain a burn permit. You can either call during the week the ladies here at City Hall, and they'll contact me, or you can call me direct. But you do need to have permission to burn. We stay in contact through text messages and things like that, so we know who's issued permits. So if you're not on the list, you could be given a citation. Also, I'd like to remind everybody, Sunday, December 22nd, we'll be doing our Santa Run. We'll be starting the county area at 2 p.m. and hopefully China Grove area about 5 o'clock.
Chief?
Yes.
Are we entertaining any ceremonial burns this year?
Always entertain them.
Okay.
So, you just have to call and request, and we'll go from there. We'll look at weather conditions and things like that. Hopefully we won't have any fronts coming through, and we'll have some mild weather, and we can have because in the past, depending on weather, we've given out, quite a few of ceremonial burns, and then when weather changes, we have to say, no, we can't do it, so hopefully this year.
One more question. Who plays Santa Claus on the fire truck?
Different people. This year, we're going to make history because we actually have a female Santa Claus.
Hey, hands down.
And it's not Mrs. Claus.
Merry Christmas.
We've been working on her deeper voice.
And someone have the animal control and code compliance report?
I don't think he had any, did she?
There wasn't anything on animal control this month. It was
Okay.
pretty much dead.
Okay, well, good. That's even better.
That's a good thing.
Okay, next we have the citizens to be heard. We have a public hearing on the agenda. The first item, and I think we can do both of these at the same time, as far as a public hearing.
I don't think anyone signed up though to speak, but so we can go to the public hearing now.
Okay. The public hearing is to receive testimony and comments from members of the public on the merits of amending the zoning ordinance to allow vehicle repair and maintenance, trailer storage and repair, warehousing and storage, manufacturing and fabricating operations as part of the conditional uses in Class 2 medium intensity land use districts. Do we have anyone out here who wants to make any comments on that part of it? Basically, we're adding or amending the zoning ordinance to include these as conditional items within the zoning of medium to intensity. Okay. Second, we have the public hearing to receive testimony and comments from members of the public on the merits of amending the zoning ordinance by rezoning the property located at 6825 U.S. Highway 87, China Grove, Texas, to authorize a vehicle repair and maintenance and trailer storage and repair operation as a conditional use for that property. Do we have anybody who wants to comment on that?
Is that the same property that they're using right now?
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind explaining if y'all want me
You
to.
can explain it.
Well, the first public hearing is to add the conditional uses because when Fast Response came to change their use, y'all have all heard them. Our Class 2 zoning, which you have a sheet in there, prohibited that. So in order for them to be able to be allowed to have that kind of operation, we had to add it to the conditional uses. And so the second public hearing is then in turn, once we add those to our conditional use, then we can entertain the idea of changing the zoning use on that property where they could operate that. And these public hearings cannot be acted on until 30 days after the hearing. So this is just to get public input. We've also sent out notices to anyone that was within 200 feet of the address, 6825, so that they would know the change was being considered, if they had anything to say, and we didn't get any negative response, and I don't think anyone's here to.
Can I speak as a?
You absolutely can, sir.
The 200 feet, that pertains to people that own the property or
No.
people that are leasing it?
No, the property owner is the one who had to file the application for the zoning change,
Okay, I see.
and he's here. And the notice goes out to anyone who owns property within 200
Okay.
feet of that location.
Yeah, that was my question, not the people leasing that property, if somebody else owns, it has to be the owner. Okay, I see.
Okay, well, as a co-owner of some property that this zoning change will affect, we have no objection to it being rezoned as a conditional use, but the owners involved are asking that the city council make sure that when the permit does come before the city council, that it is spelled out in detail as to what types of actual requirements are going to be necessary to operate that business. We know in the past that we've just taken it for granted that they will do what they're supposed to, and that doesn't always happen. So, and I think with our new permit process that we're putting in place, it will be better. But that's the only condition that I, as a spokesman for the owners, want to make sure that we have the paperwork in process to enforce what types of responsibilities they have for getting this rezoning into the ordinance.
So the type of operation that they'll have, is that what you're?
Right. Yeah.
Specific. Exactly what they'll.
Yeah.
I know that our permit officer, Kathy Winfield, she has their LLC, the Texas licensing, and so if you want to take a look at that, to get, if that will help you.
No.
But how they actually run the operation.
It's the actual running of the operation as to, the types of equipment they're going to use, the legitimate spray paint booths, if they're going to do that, how many vehicles or how many trailers can be stored on that property, and how, just the whole operation itself. We want to make sure that it is a clean operation, not just anything goes on it. And that, otherwise, we have no objection.
So you said that the action will come at the next meeting?
Well, if we have
Or
our.
later on following meeting?
Well, 30 days, I think, falls on January 4th, and when is our meeting? The 2nd. So we do have on the agenda to consider canceling our regular meeting, January 2nd, and hold it another day, so we'll be back on that further along. If that happens, then we can do it in our January meeting. And at that time, conditions can be placed on the conditional use for that property.
And they won't be here then, do you know?
They should be, yes.
How you pronounce that word, conditional use, that
Conditional
property has to pertain to all property as far as trailers and trucks go. You can't say you can do this, but this guy can do that.
Anything, the city has 2 zoning classes. One, Class 1 residential, permitted uses and conditional uses and prohibited uses. And the one you have in your folder is the Class 2. It shows there's permitted uses, conditional uses, and anything outside of that is prohibited. So what we've done is come up with some broad generalization of conditional uses and added it to or hope to add it to our zoning ordinance, and then at that time, the owner of the business and the property owner can come before the council, hopefully in the January meeting, and an ordinance will be passed giving them the conditions of whether they can or whether you're gonna allow it at all.
Right, and that's based on the ordinance for anybody.
For anybody in a class 2,
Right, correct.
which is,
That's why I
it's
bring
a
it up.
broad
It's
general
like-
class for what we call our
But then
commercial.
when they go for the permit, that's,
Yeah, we should,
that's when we can make sure that what they say they're going to do is what they're going to do.
Well,
Or,
and it'll be done by ordinance.
By
And do you remember the special use permit we did for the church where there were all the conditions were part of the ordinance? That's the way it'll be dealt with.
okay,
So you can, it'll be in the ordinance, you can list at the time it's considered the conditions that you want, and you can be as specific as you feel like you need to be.
And that'll be all property, for, you know, that deals with trailers.
Right.
We can't say he can paint, and that guy over there can't paint. It's, the zone's gonna be for
Well,
all property.
now-
the businesses.
The thing of it is, somebody that has some commercial property somewhere else, that may not be a good place for something like that to be. That would be your determination, but it would be a possibility for them.
Thank you.
is there anybody else who wants to speak on those two topics? No? Okay, then we'll move on to the next agenda item. What next agenda item is a discussion regarding the review of the FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency Flood Hazard Database information that's been developed by SARA, who is the San Antonio River Authority. The engineering data will form the basis for mapping the proposed SFHAs, which means special flood hazard areas, on the flood insurance rate map, the forms map for China Grove. This data will be incorporated in the draft form database, and initial feedback will not affect our community's ability to provide feedback later or to formally appeal the flood hazard information during a future appeal period.
We have the maps here for anybody, any resident that wants to look at these maps. I think what they've done is a study, and the maps are going to change somewhat. There's going to be some area that's not in the flood zone, some will increase. And they're trying to do this where you can just get on the computer, look it up online, and have a better view of it online than what you do now. If you have any questions, our city engineer can maybe add to that, or is that about
Yes,
it?
ma'am. Well, the risk maps are a different thing a little bit. This, what you have here is the revised floodplain map. And, you know, and Susan's right, some areas have expanded, some areas have got less. Good news for us is we don't have a lot of properties that are in the risk zone, and that this is, the risk map is gonna be for the whole city. And then you can go in, and you may be a mile away from that floodplain, but you can click on it, and then it'll say, what's the probability that your property will flood over a 25-year period of time? So they're gonna map the whole city now, but we only regulate the part that's right here. I don't know if that makes sense. So this is ready to go, right?
Well, this pretty much covers our city.
Right, but the risk maps is something that they demonstrated to
It
us.
will go further out.
Yeah, and that won't be ready, I don't think, for a while.
Yeah, and like the title says, they would like, if you have a response now, they'd like it by the 14th, but you can still change, you know, add things later, and there will be an appeal period, a time to appeal it, and, but like you said, there's not that many of us, but we probably need to get notice out, you know, to the residents that are in those areas that might want to come look at this, you know.
So do you remember when they did the last,
Map,
map?
I think it was 2010. Was
Yeah, because I remember our floodplain changed somewhat on that map.
It was 2010, I'm pretty sure.
So it's something yet different
Yes,
from that?
they did another flood study, and they do it, I guess, periodically, you know, as things change. I mean, trees fall down, different things that can happen, you know, whatever.
Things, but
Building.
one of the biggest changes, I'm sorry to interrupt, but they did it used to always be the USGS that calculated what the different rainfall intensities were for different, you know, probabilities and such like that. Well, they've updated all their rainfall data now. And so it's this thing called Atlas 14. So a lot of the rainfall intensities they use for their models have gone up. So it should have gotten much wider than it did. So I think So they update the data that plugs into the model that generates these maps. So the maps are gonna change. But in San Antonio, when they did it like for what they call D-firm, so that was about 2010, I think, maybe a little earlier, they had huge neighborhoods that wound up in the floodplain, and it was incorrect. And there were a lot of problems, so they had like really serious problems. So we did have people that would come in and say, all of a sudden I'm in the floodplain, and it was inaccurate. But, you know, so we had to work through all those issues. For us, we just have like one creek, you know, and it's not like, you know, we've got like a whole neighborhood all of a sudden that's in a floodplain that wasn't before. So, you know, I don't see any major changes in it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Well,
There are
Do you-
some.
I was gonna say, do you think it's a good idea to have Susan and Sherry at least send out notices that, for people who it does affect?
Those that, yeah.
So
And
that they
anyone
can.
Yeah, if you
Well-
do with the hearing, if you're within 200 feet or whatever,
Yeah.
the changes are.
I think
I
if
think
y'all
people
know
ought to have an
anyone, also
opportunity.
let them know, you know, anybody you talk to knows
So if
about
they
it.
want to, I mean, they
So
come
they
in
can
and
look and be prepared.
protest and do whatever we can do. Okay,
Is there somewhere a citizen can go online and check this?
They currently don't have this map online because it is preliminary. They are having meetings like this, or they're holding informational sessions like this so that people can come in and look at it and make their comments then before they put the maps out online or make a lot of copies of them.
So citizens just need to know when a meeting might be, where the map will be shown.
Right. And we'll have the map here in City Hall. We'll have it here. And so we'll get notices out, and they're welcome to come in anytime we're open and take a look at it, and we'll answer as many questions as we can when they come in.
I think that'd be a great idea. Okay. So we appreciate that. Okay, next we have an action item to consider the action on ordinance number 191205, an ordinance to adopt the new floodplain management regulations to designate a floodplain administrator, to repeal ordinance number 051208-3 and ordinance number 190307-3, and providing for severability and an effective date. I think we do have a copy of that ordinance in the packet, which is A. And I don't believe it changed from the last,
Oh, sorry.
that's okay. I don't believe it changed from the last set that you sent out, did it?
No.
Okay.
Well, it's, you have one in there,
Yeah.
it's the draft, yeah.
It's a draft, yeah. It's basically a lot of definitions of what they are going to talk about, and that's almost all definitions. And then, some provisions.
Kind of gotta say a few words.
You go ahead.
I was
So
waiting.
if y'all remember, we did a new floodplain ordinance like
Mhm.
6 months ago, I would think. And, you know what, I'll try to keep this brief because I know there's a lot on the agenda, but the city adopted to use the IBC, the International Building Codes, that the,
Earlier
advice
this
of
year.
Habib said, hey, let's do this. So that's where everybody's going. So just in a nutshell, like if you have, like you're an electrician, so if the city said, we're gonna write our own electrical code, then you'd have to keep maintaining that and updating it as new codes come out and stuff. Well, it's better to just say, we're just gonna use the NEC, right? So that's what the IBC is. It's like, and we're all just gonna subscribe to that, and then they keep that updated, and then you just use that as your code, your building code, essentially. So FEMA took wind of that, and they said, okay, we're gonna move in the direction of trying to get people off of the old format of the floodplain ordinance and onto a newer one that incorporates these international building codes, in addition to some other codes from the American Society for Civil Engineering. So that was the ordinance that I put forward last time to the city. And just one other little quick point on that. FEMA has on their website example model ordinances. They don't have this one on their website anymore because they really don't want people or communities using the old format anymore. But And the mistake I made is that I was like real thick about it, and Susan was trying to tell me that she didn't like the new format, and I didn't think anybody, I guess nobody did. But I was adamant that, man, once we start using it, y'all are gonna like it, it's gonna be great, and blah, blah. One day after we had a meeting with FEMA here for the
We
Saturday.
hosted a meeting with.
Yeah, Susan's like, I really don't like this one bit, and I said, look, we'll get the old form and we'll put all of the, see, part of the reason we were doing it is there used to be a stronger ordinance in China Grove, and then the newer one kind of lost some of those stronger codes. And so that was really the incentive for us, was to put the higher standards in there. So what we did is went back to this very similar format from the old one, and I incorporated those higher standards in there. If y'all remember, we put together a list of like half a dozen items, you know. So those should all be in there now. And it's a form that people are more comfortable with, and it's all right there in front of them. And so, and just so you know, I mean, I don't know if it's, but I just said I'll do it at no cost to the city to make that change. I just felt, I was, disheartened that I hadn't really locked in on what she was trying to tell me. And, communication is not all about talking,
Well, I had also got some feedback from Texas Water Development.
Oh, that's right,
They're now the state coordinating agency, which they weren't before, and at the time we didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But we got a little bit of feedback from them, and I said I'd like it to be easier for us to.
Yeah, we were close to getting them. They had this giant spreadsheet, it was like 10 pages long, and I went and filled in all the parts for them. We had about 4 comments remaining, but when Susan said, let's just go back to this one, if the TWDB, this one fits their eyes too, even though it's really kind of the old format. So anyway, I thought it would be proper for me to go ahead and step up and help you out.
That's fine.
What he had done was the latest and greatest, and San Antonio's implementing it now. I just didn't feel like we were ready for that.
We would have been like the first one in south of the Mason-Dixon line, I guess.
Well, it's like we first it was a while.
But it is updated from our 2005 ordinance. It did, remember the people that wanted the house on triple, whatever it was? He's added that to it and some other things. Changed the floodplain administrator from the council to the city engineer, and y'all should be happy about that.
Okay.
So it does have some changes.
Oh, I didn't put that back to you.
No, you go to the city engineer, and that's fine. That's where it ought to be.
So this one still has enough teeth that we can enforce what we need to take care of.
Yeah, and it's easier for most people that have been around to follow it, where the new one was kind of hard.
And we have minimal flood area in our city, so it's not that it's,
Okay.
Real quick, Gary, don't be shy, come up and get some sweets, you know you want them, brother.
He's eating tamales now.
Okay, so do we have any other questions for anyone or any other discussion?
Thank you, Jim.
Do I have a motion then to accept this ordinance?
Well, I make a motion that we accept the ordinance number 191205 to adopt a new floodplain management regulation and to designate a floodplain administrator and to repeal ordinance 051208-3 and ordinance 190307-3.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion's carried. Thank you. Next action is action on a permit fee schedule, amending the October 3rd, 2019 residential and commercial building construction permit fees and adding a variance and zoning non-refundable application fee. And you have that also
I
in
do
the
have
folder.
that. Okay, if you'll remember, not too long ago, we adopted these new permit fees due to legislative updates that would not allow cities to have permit fees based on the valuation of the property. So that new legislative change, as far as additions, let me start over. new construction and anything attached to a residence or a building, now the fees are based on the number of trades or the square footage, not the value because of the legislative change. However, the additions that are not attached still use valuation. So the bottom portion of your page there is changed so that we can set those permit fees according to valuation of whatever's being built or constructed or done.
Okay.
And also on the next page, at the very bottom, we've added an application fee for zoning and plating variance reviews and variance review fee of all other variances. And if you'll read the bottom line, that's just an application fee. It's a non-refundable fee. It takes care of things that we have to do to prepare these, send out public notices like I explained to you, we just did with that other property. But also, the note at the bottom explains that an applicant will be responsible to pay fees for any additional review that might require consultation with other city consultants like an engineer or attorney or any other consulting we would have to have done. Those fees would be passed on to the applicant. But the non-refundable fee is the application fee. And Kathy and I worked together, and this is the amount we think will cover our bases on that.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on that? Okay, do I have a motion to accept the new schedule?
I move that we adopt the new permit fee schedule as presented.
Okay. Second, please.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Everybody vote? Okay. Motion carried. Next, consider action on a plat subdividing a 5-acre tract into 2 lots. One 1.885 acre lot and one 3.138 acre lot.
You all, I'm sorry, here.
The property to be subdivided is located at 7418 US Highway 87 and the corner of Lane Drive by on-site fuels. Go ahead.
Okay, you have the plan in there, the preliminary plat. It's the 5 acres at the corner there of Lane and 87. They decided they want to subdivide it in 2 different properties, so they submitted this preliminary plat. We sent it to the engineer, and he's made some notes on it that you can see on the drawing in red. And as of today, they haven't completed that review, so basically it's still in his hands, and we'll bring it back to y'all to consider when all of that's been cleared. We went ahead and put it on the agenda just in case. It might have been ready, because there is a time clock. Once it's completed the review portion, then we have a deadline we have to meet. So that's why you have it there, but he has not completed. He hasn't got back to you with the notes, the requirements.
Yeah, there are certain laws in the state statutes that we have to respond within a certain period of time. So once we accept an application, then the clock starts. You know, once you say, okay, that's a full application, you've turned in everything, then it's only like 30 days, I think. So if we sit on it, if we didn't do anything for 30 days, they could come in and petition the council and say, it's implicit that you've just approved it by not acting on it. And that applies. But in this case, since we sent comments back, that stops that clock.
Right.
You know,
So it stopped the clock, but they could have had them ready. And had they done that, then our 30 days would have been.
And I will tell you that when I was in the city of San Antonio, I was the drainage engineer, I don't know if I told you that, but we would have people, we had a guy that turned one in like on a Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And then he knew that by the time it went through the system and got assigned to somebody, that by then it was already at the tail end of the review cycle. And they came in on the Monday after Thanksgiving and said, you got our credit now. And that was bad. I didn't feel well that day.
And
But
then
he had
also,
some.
the legislature also changed, when it does come to the council, you have to act. You either have to approve it or disapprove it, approve it with conditions. If there's conditions, then they have to be in writing. And disapprove it or disapprove with the, disapproving it, you have to have written reasons. So approve it, approve with conditions, or disapprove and give written reasons. It all has to be done in writing.
So we could table this.
Yes, because it hasn't
The clock is
completed
still
the
running.
initial review process. They haven't got back to our attorney, our engineer yet.
And just the main thing, I don't have it in front of me, I just came in from out of town a minute ago, but the main thing is that he's putting a detention pond downstream, so he has a pond on the neighboring property that's gonna serve the property that's adjacent to the highway. So you have to put an easement there to contain that pond, because the guy that buys the lot 2 could someday say, well, you know what, I don't want that hole over here anymore, I'm gonna fill that in, you know. Well, you know what I mean, if you put it on your property, you don't have to put it in an easement because you're controlling it. But as soon as you decide you're gonna put that pond on somebody else's land, you have to plat that easement in there. So that was really my most important comment.
I have a question. Revise, well, I have a couple of questions. Revise dim accordingly, which is pointing to the line between lot 1 and lot 2. I'm sorry.
You're not fine. So I should have it with me, I didn't know.
No, I mean, I just don't understand what that means, revise dim accordingly.
Dimension.
Oh, dimensions,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And
Oh,
then-
yeah, that one, whatever that distance was they had on there was wrong.
Was wrong, okay.
I know why, yeah, okay.
And then it's, what's SWMP, what does that stand for?
Stormwater management plan.
Okay. That will go with that retention pond that's in that lot, is that what it refers to then?
Yeah, so, well, the first question you had is that he was showing the eastern boundary line where the easement was, so he needed to move that over, and that's why I said that should be a dashed line. And once he shifts the boundary over, then he needs to adjust that dimension. And then the way that he did it, so he didn't have anything as far as like the grading plan or anything. He had a little site plan that he'd worked up. But if I may not be able to tell this, but if he didn't put a ditch along that southern property line, there's no other way he could get the water into the detention pond that'll be on the left side over here. So I'm saying, so typically when you have stuff like that, we want an easement so that they can't build a shed on top of it and block the flow or whatever, you follow me? So we always want, so these easements, it's a big game, it's not a game, but it's a big battle that you do with developers. We want easements, they don't want to give them, you know.
So on that property line between lot 1 and 2, he didn't have any easement on either side.
Correct,
Okay, and that's where you want that easement,
yes.
on both sides though,
Where
correct?
it's together in the middle, that's gonna be where the driveway's coming in.
Oh, yeah, the one, yeah.
The 40, they're gonna have a 40-foot approach for both properties, because TxDOT doesn't want to give 2 driveway permits to that. So that's why there's 20 feet on each side of the middle of that property.
No, I mean the one coming off of Lane Drive, that, I understand your,
I'm talking about
yes,
the middle of the
the
2.
middle, I
The middle,
understand that.
that's your driveway.
But on Lane Drive, where you have the SWMP with the arrow, that was the easement, you wanted easements on both sides of that lot line, going into the.
No, we just needed, well, I mean, you could put it on both sides, but we really just needed it on the lot one side for a ditch.
Oh,
To
okay.
intercept the water and drain it into the pond that'll be on
Oh,
the left
okay,
side.
so we're only asking for one easement on that lot line, not like down the middle of the 2 pieces of property where we have easement on both sides.
There is an easement on both sides down the middle.
Down
It's
the
already,
middle,
that
but
easement
not-
already exists, by the way. the one
Right,
that's on
but not on the
Between one and
easement
two.
between 1 and 2.
there. Right, there would, if I hadn't asked for one, they wouldn't put it, but
But you
again,
have
you
asked
gotta
for
have
at
a way to
least
get
one, for the water to drain into that pond.
exactly.
Okay.
What's the requirement to have a pond like that? Gotta be completely fenced in by 8-foot fence, or what's the liability of just making a pond there?
Yeah, normally we have them fence it in with a
Okay.
security fence, like a
Okay.
6-foot, like you usually see chain link fence. And I try to get people to do like wrought iron or something, they
Yeah.
never do.
It's a commercial property.
It's expensive,
And
yeah.
this is in compliance with the stormwater management plan that y'all adopted earlier on in the year, and that's implementing it, correct?
So this will be our first one, and it's a good idea. I mean, it turns out there is a little pipe on Lane Drive. I didn't even know, really, I'd never seen it. There's a little 24-inch pipe at the, down here. And
The water.
what part of what I'm gonna do when they develop this is that request they clean that pipe out and make sure it's flowing, you know?
Yes.
I mean, that, we can do that too. I mean, that's reasonable for this stuff. Oh, I'm sorry,
No,
now, we'd like them to make it a 36-inch pipe. If they put detention, I can't make them do that.
Okay, so, for item C, do we want to make a motion to allow the division of the 5-acre tract?
no, we don't,
No.
because it has
We're
different
waiting on-
reviews.
Oh,
So
okay,
we're
I'm
gonna
sorry,
table
so we
that
need to table, table that too, okay, I'm
I
sorry.
make the most we table it till next month.
till it clears the review.
And Larry seconds.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, it's been tabled. Next, consider action on a request for permit to install a T-post woven field fence at 2674 FM 1516 South, a 2.09 acre residential property.
I-
Go ahead.
Well, you have pictures, you have photos of it.
Yes.
Mr. Tavidas, I believe, has requested that fence, and I think it's already up.
Yes.
The issue is, because he has 2 acres or more, he doesn't have to have a variance for the fence. The question is, does that meet conventional fencing? How do you all interpret our ordinance that requires fences be built out of conventional fencing material? I think the list of our ordinance, how it's worded, is attached to that too. Of the different areas of our ordinance, the 3rd page that you have in there, it gives you the different parts of our ordinances that address fencing. And one of them is conventional fencing must be used, something to that effect. All fences shall be constructed using conventional fencing material. But is that, the permit officer and one council member could approve or disapprove permits. However, we felt like the council as a whole should look at this and give us your interpretation of the material for that area, if that would be the conventional fencing for a residential area.
You know, we're trying to keep the town presentable to anybody who comes through here. And this particular fence does not do that. This is something you may stick up once in a while, pull an animal in or something like that, or out on a farm, but not in the city, or not in a city like this. It's not presentable to anyone. I know the gentleman needs it and wants it, but to me, that does not meet our visual expectations of this town. If you come in here to the town to buy a house, and there's land for sale and houses to be built, what would you think? You know, for one, you think your city council ain't doing a very good job, and secondly, it's not very attractive to anyone. It's doing its job, it's not attractive. So what do we do?
Well, I have if that can't be considered, is something like this any different? Would you consider that or not? It's basically the same
Yes.
fencing, just
Because
installed
this is
differently.
more solid looking, and I believe these panels are more heavy duty versus the rural fencing that has been put up.
Attractive for country. That's
And for the
attractive
front
country.
of, the front of your property.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
No, I don't know. Basically, the fence that's being constructed, or wanted to be constructed, is no different than the ones right down the street here. Right when you come around the path there, they've got the same T-posts that's constructed all along there. And there's other residents that have that same type of fencing that's in there. So therefore, you know, what are we?
The difference is this, They may be grandfathered, that could have been there 20 years.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't 20 years, no.
And where is this particular property?
Right around the corner right here. In fact, one was a little house. It
In
was
the
there.
Tierra Bonita subdivision?
No, just right around right here where you come around the edge here, where the street
Triple.
splits. Yeah. The street splits right here, goes to the
Oh,
Al.
oh, okay.
Okay, that little house
Real
there,
Road.
they just constructed that fence and it's a T-post, built, the same type of wire to which I submitted in the paperwork for it. And then the new house is the same type that's put in. The lot next door to it has the same T-post going across and everything, that's constructed.
That fencing was there, I believe, when that land was before it was subdivided, because remember the Zelinskis subdivided that? And I believe that's why that fence is there. It was there when it was a larger part, a larger portion, and they didn't change it. So it was before the houses were built there.
I can't go down.
Real Road 1516 was the.
Right, no, I know, but I don't remember if they have the heavier duty hog paneling fence or if they have the rolled fence, because this rolled fence is only 3 foot high.
It's for,
Well, I mean,
T-post
it's
is
just
four foot.
it's
okay.
the same as the
Yeah, T-post.
other
So it's same idea.
individuals that have the same, and right there with that, where you're talking, that it's subdivided and everything, when that house was put up, there was no fence
There
there.
was no, okay.
No, then after they constructed, the fence, they had their dogs, and so therefore they put the T-post, and then just recently, the small house, which I think is still being owned by the same people that have the large house, the newly one, he just constructed one, a T-post going across in front and everything.
Well, that gives our zoning ordinance someone to go talk to.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite possible they didn't get a permit for it either, so we'll look into that part.
We can address those two situations too. But right now, sir, we're addressing your situation. Thanks for the
So
information.
I'm just giving
I
you
understand.
an example of it,
We
you know,
appreciate it.
because
Yes,
there's no difference between A and B, you know.
there is. You got caught and they haven't got caught. If I get a ticket going on the street 30 miles an hour and a guy behind me doing 40 and the cop don't go after him, that ain't got nothing to do with me. I got caught. It's not nothing personal. It's the city we're looking after. Now, they send out the code appliance lady and they can address those two situations. If you would've came to us and told us, you know, we don't like those two fences down there, then we would've addressed those before you would've came over here. You know, we don't police the area to go around looking for issues. We're all individuals and we have jobs and everything else. We don't look for problems. When it's brought to our attention, we address them. That's what we're gonna do now with those two fences, because they never got a permit. Up until a couple months ago, we didn't have a zoning person to do this. Now we do. And she does that. And she's quite busy trying to find these things that were done without permits and that are illegal. So, you know, we're stepping up to the plate here in the city to try to bring the city back up to what it used to be, where everybody had a permit, everybody did this, so many people move in, and we think we can do what we want to do. Those days are over in this town. John used to be the mayor. You know, he pushed his butt to get this town where it is. And we're not gonna let it fall down because two other people screwed up on fences and someone else is blaming them for it. Sir, we're here to address your fence.
No, I understand that, sir. I'm not disputing the fact for you to turn around and tell me that I am being singled out.
You're not.
You know, the thing that I'm saying is that it's the same type of material,
Yes.
it's the same type of fencing, you know, and one of the reasons that I'm putting up the part of the fence is because I've been over here numerous times because my neighbor does not have a driveway. So they were constantly driving through my property, coming into my driveway, and you know, I told them, this is not a toll road, you know, for you to be coming through my grass and going across to meet over there and everything.
Yes, sir.
You know, then recently I just went ahead, I wanted to put something in the front, was to maintain for my puppy, you know, so, because he's real friendly and he's small, and he sees somebody walking, he wants to take off to go play with them.
Yes, sir.
You know, and that's the only reason I was putting that, like I told Ms., the lady that came to talk to me about it, you know, and I told her, I said, to me it was temporary. She goes, well, it's more than 30 days. I said, yeah, I can say that, you know, but it's just a necessity to put on
Yes.
there and everything. And I'm not rich to come in and put like,
Yeah, $4,000 fence in.
yeah, you know, I just want something just to help to maintain something. And I went ahead and I looked around, and I saw other fencings of the same construction and stuff.
Yes.
And I said, well, let me go ahead and put something like this up as a temporary, well, not temporary, as a measurement in order to contain the people from driving across my property and everything, and also to try to keep my puppy inside whenever I let him out to go and do his thing and everything.
But you don't have a gate going in, so how are you
No.
going to keep your dog in if you're not continuing this fence down along the south of your property?
It's only, he stays within the general area. I'm out there with him, but the fact is that if he sees somebody across the street,
Then
he
he's
wants to
still
catch.
going to take off
No,
down the
because I'm
driveway.
in the driveway, and he doesn't go on the driveway, he stays on the grass area.
Well, if he's like my puppy, he'd go on the driveway and be gone in 2 seconds. I mean,
But I will say that the issue is, that he deals with is daily ons.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're doing what we can. She has been issued citations and she's,
This will be a problem.
exactly.
That's why,
That's a
David
whole
and
different problem than your fence.
That's why David and them moved out, because of all the issues going there. And, I mean, you know, I'm just trying to, when I found out the application was needed, I went ahead and petitioned the application for it and everything. And, I mean, I'm just trying to do things according to what.
Yeah, and like the council said, we'll have our code compliance, we'll issue some letters, and if that one's in violation, then we'll take care of it, so.
It's all right, I apologize for being a little harsh, but reality, you know, frustrates me. If I have a problem, it's my situation, not my neighbors, not the brother. I can come up with all kinds of things around this town that's been done illegal over the years, but.
Well, I could see the fact to
Yes.
say that there were grandfather clause into it.
Well, I think,
You know,
yeah,
and
I know that.
that when I looked at the construction or wanted to put something up, you know, I just didn't come up and say, well, I'm gonna do it just to do it.
Right,
You know, I drove around the area, I looked at specific areas,
yes.
and I knew that certain areas did not have it for years and years, you know, and I said, well, okay, if this is permissible, and as long as I stay within that guidelines, then I should be okay, you know, and that's what I went ahead and started or wanted to start to do.
Yeah, we just pull up our phone, that fence is only 4 years old. Yeah. The one about, in the corner on the right side, that fence is only 4 years old. When I got built the house, they put that new chain link fence, a new T-post fence up, so.
And the one next door to it is not 4 years old.
No, that one we're looking at, I'm 15, 16.
You're the brand new one.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and then,
Larry, one of the other problems is that since you didn't have a permit to begin with to put the fence up, we could have avoided some of this if you'd come and told us you were going to put the fence in the first place. We could have discussed what kind of fencing before you went ahead and put all the T-posts up and all the wire up, and then it looks like this. And so, I mean, that's the first problem, is you need to have a permit first before you did anything, and you did it, and then you found, you know.
Yeah, well, I discussed that with the inspector and everything, and she said that it had just been a change that had come in, that they had brought in and stuff, so I said, well, I was not aware of it, you know.
The fencing
Well,
is
sir, it wasn't new.
always.
She's new to our program, and she's doing a great job, but that ordinance has been in place for a good long time. Everyone along there probably has had to get a permit, especially go past the front of their house. And the only thing that would allow you is you have over 2 acres.
So we've always had the permit part.
The permit process is
It's always been there. 20
But
plus
sometimes
years.
people do get it biased. now that we have more eyes out there watching for it, it's not as easy to do.
Yeah, she's finding out a lot of stuff we haven't seen over the years. We don't go out and, visually look at everything. It's not our job to, but now we have some.
What are we doing on the other ones that are, what we're saying is not?
Well, Kathy's working on it, and, I'm not sure that we were aware of the ones he's referring to.
I'm looking at one that I don't know if he's talking about this one directly, but remember the old, real old little small home over here?
Yeah,
And
that's
they
what
built-
he's talking
they built
about.
the
That's what
house
he's
up.
talking about,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
okay.
it's got a.
So that's the one we'll look into, we'll address that one now that,
We need them all.
yeah.
Well,
But
like I
this
said,
one, I think someone called, they noticed it up, and we took action on it too.
I like the fact that we got someone out there now looking. She drives her own car, she has a tag on the side of the door telling who she is. And that's gonna tell everybody in this town, we have somebody watching us. And we never had that before. I could come to your house and you need to get a permit. Who the hell are you? I ain't nobody. But now this person has a badge and she represents the town and she's trying to get control of all the stuff that's being done without us even knowing what's going on.
When she thought to talk to me, I mean, she was courtesy enough and
Yes,
everything.
she's doing a great job.
She did tell me that, she has just started working and everything, and, I acknowledged that, and, I said, okay, I need a permit, so I got here, and I was gonna bring it the first thing in the morning, to turn it in and everything, and I think they were in court
Yeah.
that day. and
That's
everything.
right.
When she shows up again, you don't have to do this. It's not gonna arrest her. Well, I respect the fact you came in here, I really do, and we'll get her to look at those other two situations, and she'll address those. If they didn't get a permit, if they're not legal or zoning, then we'll address that too.
Because how is it like right there where, it comes to the curb to come in, where the other street is on the back, and they have those brand new houses, but on those properties that they just subdivided.
Because that's not county road. Those brand new houses on that side,
No. It's on this side. You know where the auto shop is?
Yes.
Where the,
The three new houses he built.
I'm trying to think, they got the property for sale right now. It used to be a youth center or something.
Kingdom
Yes.
Resources,
Those three main properties are the same type of fencing that I have.
yes,
And those are in China Grove.
yes, they are, a little B right there, yes.
Yeah.
But those, the fence has been there forever. They were there with the mayor, when John was the mayor, because I've been out here 33 years. That's
And
my
they
fifth.
replace some of the spots and stuff, but that's a big
Yeah,
deal.
it's been there forever. And we'll address that when the property sells, then we can address it. No longer grandfather.
right.
But right now, we have, if the zoning lady goes after these people and their grandfather, there's not much we can do about it until something happens to the property that gives us the right to change the property rules. So, she's up against that too. Yeah, we have to look at all case scenarios, what's going on with the property before we can vote on it. It's been there 30 years, it's been there 30 years.
So,
We need some kind of motion.
Yes, thank you.
yes,
Okay.
Oh, I make a motion that we ask this gentleman to adapt to our zoning ordinances.
and deny the permit.
Is
for
deny
that
this permit for
fence.
that fence. And if you want a permit for a new fence, to show us your design of the fence, and we'll take it from there.
We need to put a time frame on it. The fence guard there.
Well, it has to come down.
Yeah, fence has to come down. As far as time frame for new fence, it's up to him. Is it a week, a month, 2
If
years?
it's in violation, there's no permit, it'll have to come down, and so when he's ready to put something different, and come back with that.
But does that ordinance have a time frame for him to take things down, or do we need to put like a 30-day time frame that must come down? I don't remember having a time.
I think Kathy can address that, there's probably a regulation in there, I think it's already past 30 days for a temporary fence, so.
Yeah, but he was caught 30 days ago. It should be by the time he is
Almost.
found to be wrong.
Well, whatever y'all decide.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to modify that motion to include the inspector addressing the other properties within the next 30 days?
Yes, absolutely.
Do what?
Include, having the inspector address the other properties in the next 30 days?
Well, I think right now just address that, and she will do that on a separate basis. We don't need an ordinance for that.
Yeah, those other two properties not on the agenda,
Yeah,
so.
just this one.
I don't recall exactly what your motion is, because the item on the agenda is to consider a permit for a T-post fence. So you're saying that you want to deny that?
Correct, I'll deny it, MASHA,
To deny the request for this permit.
deny the request for a permit for the keep those fence,
At this second.
yes.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second it.
All those in favor? Aye. Anybody else? Okay.
Before you,
Okay.
excuse me, before you close it, with the holidays and everything coming, you know, if you could give until a little bit like the middle of January, you know, for me to start taking it down and everything, you know, I'd really appreciate that, you know. That's,
You've got Christmas lights on it.
Yeah. I don't see any objections to give you 30 days, or 45 days to take it down. I mean, I don't know if we have a time limit or not,
Well,
but.
I'll pass it on to the inspector and she'll work with you on it, okay?
thank you.
Okay. Next, consider action to switch cellular service to the FirstNet program.
And it's to Sherry. Just the last half is her.
Alright. Mayor and Council, I know we spoke about it a while back. Chief Winfield brought up that he's on the FirstNet program, and it's for first responders. And what it does is in the case of an emergency, a large emergency, hurricanes, any kind of bombing, any major disaster that comes up, being on this FirstNet program will put our officers and our equipment at the top of the broadband spectrum. That gives us better service when everybody's trying to use their cell phone and it's blocking them out. Our officers will be at the top of that. Our city phones will be at the top of that. Their MDTs, internet devices, all of that will be able to work faster. So we looked into FirstNet. It came in actually cheaper than what we're currently using. It is still an AT&T product, but the cost of it is actually coming in under what we're currently under a governmental project pricing through AT&T. And so what you've got in your package there, we also talked about getting mayor and council sets of cell phones so that they could contact each other, have conversations about city business because of the new House bill that has come about, that if you use your personal phone for any type of business as a city council member, that could be confiscated if any type of lawsuit comes up, and they would be able to take your phone and all the contents on it. And so we looked into what our options were for that as well. In your packet, you've got two sets of plans that we have there. And the first one with a star at the top is going to be comparable to what we currently have with some additions. We did add the eForce program, which is our ticket writer program, and in that we purchased iPads for the officers to use out at the field through the grant. They currently do not have data service. They're being used, they use their hotspot to use it while they're out there. The problem with that is, you know, the hotspot can drop, they lose signal, they're not able to print their tickets, there's things going on. So we need to get some data added to those iPads that we've got. In the current plan that we had, for example, our last month's bill, we had three telephones. One was animal control, one is the PD, and one is the city phone. Those are the three phone lines that we currently have. We have 4 MDTs, which are the internet devices connected to the PD CAD systems.
Mobile data.
Their mobile data. And so that's how they stay, where they run your driver's license when they make a stop and they stay in contact with their county, that kind of thing. We currently have 4 of those. And then we have 2 push-to-talk phones, which gives them the ability to not use data, but kind of like a CB where they can push to talk to each other versus, you know, picking up the phone and dialing phone call kind of thing. Our current plan, for example, last month ran us $526. So the plan that I'm proposing here that FirstNet has given us will give us all of those same options along with 2 additional push-to-talk options on our phones and the 3 data tablets. It's going to give us the data for the ticket writer tablets. So that's not only what we're currently getting, but it also includes the 3 iPads that we need to get data on as well. So we're coming in under what we were paying, plus we're getting the data that we need on our iPads.
Is this gonna be a 6-month deal and then the price goes up? Is it gonna last a year, 2 years, 3 years? Some of these things sound good when they're starting, but then they.
So far, we haven't had any price increase with the fire department.
Right.
And honestly, the service is fantastic. I used to have Sprint. I couldn't even use it over here in this area. When I went to this FirstNet AT&T, service is great, even down in Rockport.
Yeah, so it's still an AT&T program, it's an AT&T product, but it gives, the FirstNet is for first responders. It's kind of a safety net for first responders, so in the event that we really need them to be able to have that bandwidth, they have that available to them.
So you're saying the total cost per month is, right now would be $448.97?
Correct. And that's everything that we currently have, plus 2 additional push-to-talk and the 3 iPads. So we're getting additional items additional lines along with what we currently have, and it's still coming in under what we're currently paying. The benefit to that is it gives the data bandwidth there for any of those emergencies, so that we make sure that they are able to use their devices at that point in time.
Okay.
And is it true that anybody that has an AT&T phone can tell anybody within Chapel personnel?
Correct.
If
They
you
do
have an
have
AT&T phone, you can have.
push to talk. There is a app that you can put on your phone, and like on a personal phone, you can use the push to talk feature where you can walkie-talkie to another person in the PD. So the chief would be able to use his phone to push to talk with his officers at any point in time. And that's not, there's no distance thing there. He can be away from his officers and still be able to get in touch with them without sending a text message or an email or trying to pick up the phone. The push to talk would work for that.
Does that jeopardize the new state law saying that your phone can be, what we talked about the water?
That's one of
That's
the
why you
reasons
do it.
we're looking
You do
at
it.
this.
The push to talk,
Because there's no
wouldn't
data
because
center.
there's no data transferred. It's
Right.
gonna be a constant. Okay, so then the second plan that we have in there, this is an additional thing. This was what we asked for to look at for the mayor and council and pertinent city staff, or have an additional city phone here. This would be adding 7 lines. That would give everybody on the mayor and council a phone, and it would also give 1 main phone here at City Hall to have for personnel if they were traveling, if something happened, if a major was going on and we knew a council meeting was coming up and you needed to get me information, I would be able to have that phone, or Susan would be able to have that. This does include devices, where the other one, we're just transferring the devices that we have. I believe on the mobile device, the internet devices on the other plan, they will be upgrading them to the newest ones with this plan, and there's no charge to that because we are a municipality. On this one, it would be brand new equipment, and the total cost for 7 phones under the program is $6.93. So they pretty much subsidize it. You pay 99 cents a piece for the telephones, so that the municipalities can use it. It's one of the bonuses they're doing for the House bill to kind of subsidize the cost of having to have these equipment. It's unlimited talk and text, and 2 of those phones out of the 7 would have the push-to-talk feature added onto it already.
And what's the monthly bill for that?
The monthly bill for that is $285.93. So that would be an additional cost, but that is for all 7 lines, that is all 7 devices. 2 of them would have the push to talk, and that would be unlimited on all of it. We currently don't have this. This is something that we looked at because of that House bill.
So combined, the 285 and the 448, so that would be about 700, and you said our bill was
526.
So
But-
basically,
For less phones.
bonus, but
service.
basically the total cost outlay every month will go up about 180.
That's correct.
Like
And that gives us the 7 additional phones, the 2 additional push to talk for the PD, and it also gives us the 3 iPad service that we need. So, and I separated them into 2 plans. the one plan, we definitely need to do something about getting our iPads set up as quickly as possible, and with this plan, that'd be great. And then y'all can accept the one for the additional phones or table it and come back to it later. But I set it up into plans like that, that way we could decide where the importance lies and what your thoughts and agreeance is on the additional.
So the 7 phones, it's gonna be mostly to council members?
Yes.
All council members?
Yes.
All right, well, I don't need a phone.
Okay.
So, I don't know how.
Are you willing to let your phone go if we ever,
I haven't, I think since Susan put out a text that said you're no longer using your phone for, city business,
Because of the
I
legislative
respected that.
After September 1st, that, yeah, if you used it after that day.
If you call the city hall on your phone, is that part of using it?
Only texting.
Only texting, okay.
Texting or email. Your email can be used as well. If you're using your personal email on your personal phone to conduct city business, at that point, it can be subpoenaed. And another way that we need to look at for possibly fixing that is creating a email address for each one of you individually, and using that instead of sending to your personal email addresses. So any information that comes from City Hall would go to your City Council email, not your personal email, and that kind of separates those two as well.
So you're saying that the agenda and the minutes that you send out, that goes to our home computers, subject our computers to
Your
confiscation?
email,
Your email,
your personal email?
If it's sent to your personal email, if we create your emails, if we create you a city email and you conduct your city business through your city email, then your city email can be pulled.
so it's not part of this, it's,
But if you use your city email on your phone,
Right.
you're
Which is why we've given you the option of putting adding the phones.